So, hey Albert, welcome to this podcast with Buildify. And today we'll be discussing a lot about GenLayer, the first intelligent blockchain, which also utilizes AI. And we'll be going deeper into the product side of GenLayer and the whole tech side. So, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah, everything is good. Thanks for having me here. This is
Yeah,
exciting.
awesome. Yeah. And so, first, would request you to give like an intro about yourself and what you guys are building at GenLayer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my name is Albert, background in computer science. I've been in the space since 2013. I've been in multiple projects, multiple L1s, such as NAM and Radix. I was co-founder at Stakehound, and then about 2 years ago, we started looking into the world of of agents and AI and large language models. We were fascinated by the idea of having an LLM be able to code. So we started to experiment. How can we build different type of frameworks and different type of applications on top. And about a year ago, we had the idea for GenLayer, and it just like completely blew our minds. So yeah, we've been completely dedicated to it for like 1 year and 2 or 3 months right now.
Awesome, awesome. That sounds good. So, like when we were researching about GenLayer, we saw that GenLayer totally works on the intelligent contracts. So, would love to know how these intelligent contracts differ from the smart contracts, the ones which we use in Web3 generally.
Right, right. So I think a first step is, it's important to understand that smart contracts are a great innovation, but they have some limitations, right? Smart
Correct.
contracts can't connect to the internet. They
Yeah.
have, for example, they are what's called totally deterministic, right? Like deterministic means that for the same input, you need to get the
Correct.
same output, right? So the internet is not deterministic. Every time that you go to a single website, it's giving you a different response every time, right? The cookies change, the content has changed. It can be anything. So
Yeah.
going to a website is a bit of a subjective task, right? It's not
Correct.
deterministic. Now, the problem is that smart contracts can't deal with that because all the nodes of the networks, they need to be seeing exactly the same thing, right? And it's
Got it.
like, it's a problem because like, what could you do if you had smart contracts capable of connecting to the internet, right?
Yeah.
So we basically have been looking into, okay, can we, through AI, solve this problem, right?
Yeah.
Can we basically create that's what we're doing, we're creating a consensus algorithm, right?
Yeah.
It's essentially a smart contract platform that has a consensus algorithm that the validation stage is using AI at the consensus, right? So meaning
Got it.
every transaction goes to a bunch of different LLMs in order to make a subjective decision, which means
Yeah.
that now you have a protocol such as, if Bitcoin came here to, remove the banks in transactions, and
Yeah.
Ethereum came in to essentially remove the servers in, in applications, we're essentially, well, removing the humans in decision making, right? We're
Got it.
making it so that we have a protocol that can make subjective decisions, and then you can build what we call intelligent contracts on top, which
Yeah.
are these applications that can go to the internet, can make decisions like an AI, but essentially
Yeah.
instead of using a single model, a bunch of them, right? And essentially opens up the type of applications that can be built on blockchain, right?
Got it.
The goal is this: is like, what can we create if we have the capability of going to the internet natively without oracles from a smart contract? What can we do if the smart contracts can basically make subjective decisions without
Got it.
any human intervention, right? So,
Yeah.
for anything from DeFi to DAOs to different type of agents to different type of games, there's
Correct.
like really endless types of applications.
Got it, got it. That sounds good actually, and it's like a lot of advancement on the smart contract sides in Web3 specifically. So now, like also while we visited the website, so we saw a lot of things about optimistic democracy algorithm. So would love
Mhm.
to know about that as well. Like what's the whole technology about? The Yeah.
Right. It's the consensus, right? So basically, if you
Yeah.
look at the stack, there's a few different components, right?
Yeah.
There is the GenLayer chain, which is basically what's the ordering of events, prevention of double spend, and so on. That's a roll up.
Correct.
Then the chain has a smart contract, which is the consensus, right? And we call this consensus optimistic democracy, right?
Okay.
Then on top of this consensus, there's what's called an overlayer, which is up to 1,000 nodes that are the ones that are validating the transactions, right? So each one of these nodes is connected to a different large language model, or any
Okay.
really, right? So like, we're not saying proof of inference, we're not trying to say you need to be going to this open source model and so on. No,
Okay.
each validator can go to a different LLM. We actually want them to be as different as possible, right?
Got it.
That's the whole thing. Like, the whole optimistic democracy consensus algorithm is based on what's called the Judy theorem, right? Which is the wisdom of the crowd, right? It's better
Yeah.
to ask a bunch of people than to ask a single person. So a bunch of people on a majority vote will give you better results than one single person, even they have the same type of correctness or understanding of something. Yes.
Got it.
So how it works is basically there's a leader that's selected at random. There's other four
Okay.
validators that are selected at random from the whole, up to 1,000 validators. And then
Got
the
it.
leader makes a proposal and the validators essentially vote yes or no, or I don't know, to the proposal of the leader. They can
Okay.
rotate, there can be appeals. There's the consensus, essentially a
Okay.
flow, right? A flow that basically makes it so that you have an decision, right? Whether they agree or disagree, or there's no solution potentially, right? In some cases, right?
Yeah.
But essentially, it's deterministic on this flow, right? This state machine is deterministic, but then at
Got
the
it.
same time, how they move between, like across the state machine, it's not deterministic, right? That's what basically where the
Correct.
developers can come in and can say, you go to this website and see if the score is the same, or say, for example, if the winner is the same, right?
Correct.
Presidential elections, is Donald Trump the same as Trump? Maybe one website says Trump, maybe the other website says Donald Trump. From a
Yeah.
subjective standpoint, is the same. From an objective standpoint, is not the same. Really, like
Correct.
it's in those two
Got it.
strings are not the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, got it, definitely. And like also, we saw that there are a lot of use cases which can be built on top of GenLayer, and some of them are specifically highlighted on the websites. So I would love to know your opinion that what kind of projects you personally would like to see more using GenLayer, like specific use cases which you feel
Right.
projects should build upon.
So again, like what GenLayer enables is essentially for subjective decision making, right?
Correct.
It's a protocol that makes decisions without human intervention. It's a protocol that can go to fetch information on the internet without
Okay.
oracles, right? And this
Got it.
means that you can do stuff, like prediction markets and insurance and different type of options where you would normally use an oracle, but in this case you don't really need the oracle. For example, we have a product called Intelligent Oracle. You can find it at intelligentoracle.com, where you
Okay.
basically it's open source under MIT, and you can create an oracle on anything. You even have an agent that's helping you write the oracle, and then one click deploy, one click resolve. It's gonna go fetch whatever information you want, completely on
Okay.
chain, right?
Got it.
Now, that's like the super low hanging fruit, right? When you
Okay.
start
Yeah.
looking into what you can do there, you can do, for example, DAOs that are making decisions by themselves. So, for example, imagine that you write a DAO with a bylaw and so on, and then the DAO can go to the snapshot page, see the votes, see the weights, and so on and so forth, and then make a decision. You can say, the decision that the DAO needs to make needs to be valid, needs to be legal, needs to be the best ROI, for example, right? So,
Got it.
as technology will improve, as AI will improve, GenLayer will improve too. There will be
Got it.
more things that you can do on top, right? So you can even do stuff such as, if you want to go technical, you can even say, LLM, I want you to give me the code on how to, let's say, give me the code on how to calculate the discounted cash flow. And then you can
Okay.
you can execute the code that the LLM has prompted, has returned, right? Live during the transaction, right? Which is very, very weird that you can do this type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's really quite a bit. For example, if I have to say one that I'm really, really, really excited about is what we're calling performance-based contracting, which is like,
Okay.
think about it, right? Like right now, if you want to be paid by anyone, right? Like right now, you have liquidity pools like Uniswap, for example, right? Like you
Correct.
can participate, you can put your funds on a liquidity pool, and anybody can exchange, like. But right now, if you're
Got it.
thinking, for example, if I want to get someone to work or do something for me, right? Or like something that like maybe a community wants to push, right? Now
Yeah.
you need to have humans that are doing the distribution of those funds to whoever has done some task, for example, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So if you want to have anybody in the world be able to do a task, and you want to be able to pay that person, but you don't want to do it, you want this to be decentralized, right? What
Yeah.
you can do is you can write an intelligent contract that basically evaluates what someone is doing, for example, on Twitter, or what someone is doing, for example, on GitHub, and then distribute funds to the person that is doing that work, the person or the
Correct.
agent, right? Yeah, like
Got
I'm
it.
sure you probably have been hearing about Eliza and all these different agents, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
happened?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of insane. Like it's going to be a very
Yeah.
interesting year, right? And
Yeah.
so the way I look at it, like this year is going to be very much focused on how do we get these agents to make money, right?
Correct. Definitely.
Yeah. So how are they going to make money? What can they do better than humans, right? Because like we can think, okay, they're going to be better at trading than humans. I'm not sure that. I mean, they're not superhuman yet, right? So
Yeah.
like, why would they be better, really, right? Is
Correct.
it like it's not very clear, right? But there's things where they're very much better, right? For example, they're very good at digesting tons of information, at
Mm.
generating information too, right? So like essentially, say for
Correct.
example, posting on Twitter or creating code, for example, they're actually getting much, much, much better as well, right?
Yeah.
We're basically, the way I look at it is like there's going to be a lot of tasks that they can do, the agents themselves, right? Where they're going to be being paid for doing that specific task in a way that is similar to Uniswap. So, like, imagine a
Got
liquidity
it.
pool where you can put in funds and say, I want people that do this task to be paid. And by people, I mean people and humans and agents, right?
Got
And
it.
so that they will be able to do that. So stuff like this you can do on GenLayer very, very easily.
Definitely. Like I think that's like very helpful because right now, as we see that there is a lot of talks and lot of noise going on around agents. Like we have virtuals and all. AI 16Z doing it. So
Mhm.
yeah, and also would like to ask one more thing. Like, are you guys having any grant program or something right now? Like for the
Yeah.
projects who are looking to build? Yeah.
So we have a grant program that's going to be opening up in the next couple of weeks. Really,
Yeah.
you will have it from the foundation, and then like there's grants, there's challenges, right? So grants is more like to help the like on the tooling and this type of things, right? And then challenges is come and build something cool. Like I don't know, we've got some guys working on a decentralized game master, for example. So imagine a
Got it.
game that so imagine Dungeons and Dragons, right? Where you basically the game master is the protocol itself, and you say you open the door, you find the dragon, you stick your finger on the ear of the
Yeah.
dragon falls, because it's like you can basically make it so that it's an endless story, right? Essentially
Got it.
generated by the AIs, right? In this case, as I said, it's not just one model making the decision, right? Like part of the making it correct. So like we're trying to make a protocol that can make decisions in a decentralized manner, right?
Correct.
Now, those decisions need to be as correct as possible, and they need to be as unbiased as possible, right?
Correct.
We're
Yeah.
using this consensus, we're using this, the jury theorem, the
Yeah.
optimistic democracy, right? Because we want them to have different points of view and then do a majority vote between them to be as, correct as possible. So you're not going to a single LLM, you're going to a bunch of different LLMs, and then between them, they reach an agreement on what needs to happen, right?
Got it.
So, so yeah, there's like if you join the channels, I mean it's
Yeah.
not public yet, but it is going to be opening up in the next few weeks. So for sure, if you
Got
join
it.
the channels, of course, like you can. There's going to be grants for like building the stuff around the tooling. There's tons of things to be done. The coding language is Python, right? So
Okay.
like you're coding in Python, you're coding as well in natural language, in any language, right?
Okay.
And then yeah, so basically it opens up as well like the participants, right? Like any who can participate. Solidity is less than 1% market share in developers. Python
Yeah.
is more than 30%, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's quite
Correct. Like Python is definitely like a widely used language among the
right.
developers and specifically if you see among the AI developers. So I think that's
Exactly.
very correct. Yeah. And
among
also,
among AI as well, right? So like
yeah,
AI, right? Like if you go to Claude, if you go to ChatGPT and so on, like they are very much trained on Python because there's so much more Python code than anything else, right?
got it.
So they're way better at coding in Python than coding in Solidity, simply because in Solidity there's not that much code that they can
Got it.
be trained on, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very important. And then like when you're thinking, for example, you need to be able to have a language that can deal with strings and JSONs and like different type of
Obviously. Yeah.
memory management and string management is very, very important, right? And Python really it's the best for this, right? So
Correct.
very easy to code on it. It's very easy to deal with memory. It's very easy to but it's kind of I guess the challenging part, right, is like you have that it's a language that's not totally deterministic, right? So like what we've been working on is you've got this execution environment that maybe I didn't
Yeah.
mention on the stack, right? That's the top of the stack, which is where people are actually writing the contracts, right? The intelligent contracts. So the
Correct.
idea is you're writing, smart contracts for the assets, let's say on any chain, and then the decision making is what's happening on GenLayer, right?
Gen.
You
Yeah.
don't really want to have tokens on GenLayer, what you want to have is you can be tokens that are being like related to the protocols on GenLayer, but basically the decision making is happening on GenLayer. It's like a cognitive layer for making decisions in a trustless way, right?
Got it. Definitely. I think that's like a very good advancement in the whole DAI ecosystem. So, as we
Mhm.
were earlier talking about the agents scenario in Web3 and AI specifically, so would like to know your take on it. Like right now, what's going on in the DAI, and what do you think? How much time will the hype or the whole trend be continued? So, want your take on it?
I think that we're at the AGI or almost at the AGI, basically, right? So I think that this is the moment where things are really going to start to change.
Yeah.
So I can't see another narrative that is bigger than
Okay.
this one in general,
Yeah.
right? I think everybody inside of crypto and outside of crypto is going to be talking about AI
Yeah.
for the next few years for sure, right?
Yeah.
So let's say 1, 2, 4, 5, 20 years, but for sure it's going to be talking about AI more than anything else, right?
Got it.
So within crypto right now, there's like two big movements, right? There is you know crypto for AI. So let's,
Yeah.
deep in, for example, right? Can we use the crypto rails in order to improve the AI ecosystem, right? Can we do, decentralized inference, for example,
Correct.
proof of inference? Can we do
Yeah.
the payment, like essentially the decentralized compute, for example, the rendering,
Got
right?
it.
That all these different things, right? That's the way I look at it. It's like crypto for AI, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot on that front, right? But when you're looking at the opposite, which is can we use AI for crypto? It's actually quite limited, right? I mean,
Got
one,
it.
for example, is the agents, right? So say
Yeah.
I want to be buying some ETH from USDT, in this chain, and then you have an agent that goes and runs and does it, right? There's
Yeah.
actually quite a few projects that are doing this, right? There's this new movement, the DefAI, right? Like started by
Yeah.
by the
DefAI.
yes, with
Yeah.
Anon and stuff. But like I find that very interesting, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually super looking forward to what other use cases are going to be possible with AI for crypto, right?
Yeah.
Like
Got it.
I'm telling you, a DAO, for example, that can make decisions by itself is essentially an
Correct.
agent, right?
Correct.
And if you have an agent that is completely running on chain that can never be stopped, that's super fascinating, right? If you
Yeah.
can have, a legal framework basically for AIs, if you can have the payments that I said before, right? All of those things are using AI to enable new things in crypto. Those are
Yeah.
new permissionless protocols, right? New
Got it.
primitives, right? If you, I don't know, like, on the DeFi summer, right? Like, Uniswap started 2018, 2019, and so on, right? Like
Yeah.
Synthetics, Aave, all these guys, right? That
Yeah.
was super exciting. Every week or two, you were like, "Oh, now we can do loans on chain. Wow!" Right now we can do yield farming. That was an
Yeah.
actual summer, right? Like lots of things going on, lots of new things happening and being created, right? The
Yeah.
problem is that for the last few years, right? So since then, really, it's been incremental improvements only, right? So
Yeah.
it's been like, okay, now we have intents, now we have like there's improvements, but they're not fundamentally new things that you can do. You
Got it.
see, like
Yeah.
having a Uniswap, like having an automated market maker, that is a fundamental improvement. You could never
Correct.
do that before in a way that is permissionless. Oh my God, you've got a box, you put two tokens, and anybody in the world can come and
Yeah.
swap one for the other. That's
Got it.
insane,
Correct.
right? Yeah. So
Correct.
now I'm saying, all these protocols that you can do in GenLayer, say for example, a box where you put the money and the box starts to give the money away in exchange for some work that whoever it is in the world is doing. That's actually
Got it.
quite interesting too, right? Or a game that is just never gonna end. That's quite interesting too, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we just want to see what people come and build. They don't need to be developers. They can use AI to do that. We're trying to make the tooling as simple as possible. We've got this
Yeah.
website. It's an IDE. You can go to studio.genlayer.com and
Okay.
you can like right out of the gate just I mean there's a bunch of examples in there already, but like you can start to code stuff there like without any type of setup. It will take you like, the time to load the page literally, right?
Got
And
it.
you can already start to see how it works. Yeah.
Got it. And I also saw that you guys have a specific simulator for it, which has all the guides and docs and all to help
Yep.
developers build very easily on GenLayer. So yeah,
Yes.
thanks, Albert, for sharing such a good information. We just have a last question for the episode. So that will be like alongside the whole DAI tech, we also get
Mhm.
to see a lot of token launches along with it for the agents and all. So will we be able to see any token launch from GenLayer or any alpha if you could share for 2025, or do you guys want to keep it secret, or
There
how
is
is
a
it?
token. I mean,
Yeah.
so GenLayer is essentially, I mean, it's a network, right? It needs the
Okay.
token in order for for paying the court's gas, for paying the
Got it.
bonds, for so it's a DPoS network, right? Delegated proof
Got.
of stake network. So there is a token, right?
Yeah.
Now there's going to be other tokens as well related to these other protocols that can be built on top, right?
Yeah.
So it's not going to be like one token. It's an entire ecosystem of different type of primitives that can be built on it, right? And then yeah, so there's going to be quite a bit. On the agent side of things, there's one point is I think that people are starting to understand that agents that are just shilling constantly, it's
Yeah.
not that valuable, right? I
Correct.
think what I'm really looking forward is back to the performance-based contracting. I
Yeah.
want humans to be able to make interesting points and be paid for that, regardless of who they are, right?
Got it.
And I think that that's something that you can build on GenLayer very, very nicely, and that's something
Got it.
that we're actually working on already, right? So stay tuned because this is actually coming really, really quickly, really, really soon.
Got it. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Albert, a lot for taking your time and coming onto the podcast and sharing about all
Really,
about
really appreciate
GenLayer
it.
and the product and site. So we're definitely looking for more such updates and advancements from GenLayer. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah.